And then as I got older, like I was playing piano and it wasn't angry enough for me. Like I wanted something to like take more aggression out. And so my dad bought me the drums. Nice. And I started playing drums at 12 and like that was perfect. And I joined an all girls Ramones tribute band and we were paid to play gigs and we were fucking sick, right?
Yes, yeah. I love that.
Yeah, and our bassist at the time was fucking around with heroin, and so my dad pulled me from the band. He's like, "I don't want you involved. I don't want you involved with heroin." And I'm like, "What? What's heroin? Like, that's interesting." And so as time went on, and I just naturally fell into like the party days, and I started with doing ecstasy at raves, lying to my parents, telling them I was sleeping over at so-and-so's house. They're telling their parents they're sleeping at my house. And we this was before Uber and Lyft. So we like met some dude on like Plur Life. Yes. And he'd come pick us up and take us to like the Hudson in San Bernardino and we'd go take ecstasy all night. And my dad was like my best friend. He would test my ecstasy pills for me before I went to the rave. Wow. To make sure they were clean and whatnot. And so we were more of like a friendship than we were like a father-daughter figure. And I looked up to him and I like admired him and wanted to be him. And long story short, I fell into doing like hardcore cocaine. And my boyfriend at the time in high school was smoking meth. And so one of the times I remember sneaking out of my dad's house and I went to go hang out with my boyfriend at the time. And he's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I don't know. Let's just go fucking drive." So we're driving down the street and he runs a red light. And at that red light, there was a police officer. And so we're getting pulled over and he's telling me in the car, he's like, "I can't go to jail." He's 18. "I can't go to jail. Like, I can't like get caught with this shit." And me being the guardian savior angel that I am, I'm like, "Don't worry. Just give me your drugs. I will hide them, you know?" So I'm stashing his meth in my bra. I've got my coke in my bra. Shit. And then I've got this meth pipe and I'm like, the fuck do I do with it? And I'm like, "Oh, no problem. I'll just shove it up my pussy. Like, I'll just hide it, Let's do it that way." Yeah. Us drug addicts, we get pretty crafty, right? And so we get pulled over by the cops and they grab the underwire of my bra. Boom, boom. They both fall. And they're like, "Okay, put your hands behind your back. You're going to jail." And we get to the jail facility and they ask me, like, "Do you have any more drugs on you?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Well, when we get inside, we're going to strip search you. And when we find them, we're going to hit you with smuggling drugs into a jail facility." And I'm like, "Fuck." I'm like, "All right." I'm like, "I have a meth pipe." And they're like, "Where?" And I'm like, "It's inside my pussy." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "No, it's okay. Like, I can just like, queef it out. No big deal." No. But they took me to the hospital to like surgically extract it, then to make sure that I was okay to book. So so they do that. We're going back to the police station and they're like, "We're going to call your parents." I'm like, "Call my dad." So I have him call my dad and I'm like mortified, embarrassed. I'm 15 at the time. And like, I just got strip searched against my will. And so I'm bawling my eyes out and I'm walking out of the police, the jail facility. And my dad's there and he is laughing at me and he thinks it's the funniest shit he's ever seen. He's like, "Melissa," he's like, "when I told you to have drugs in you, not on you, I didn't mean literally." And I was like, and at that point, what really fucked me up, like looking back at that point, that taught me that big girls don't cry. That taught me to show no emotions. That taught me to not talk about, like my inner feelings, just brush it off like everything is okay, And like I ran with that ego trip of like just getting out of jail. I'm like, yes, let me get a fucking spider web tattoo next, like doing some time. And I ran with that. And that became a big part of my ego and like how I carried myself was like I was some badass bitch.